Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and Happy New Year. And thank you all for joining us for today's A Month of Service presentation of property taxes, valuations, exemptions, and payment options. My name is Nia Murray. I am Programs Coordinator with Neighborhood Recovery Community Development Corporation, and we are one of the partners in the A Month of Service program. Included in our partnership and joining us today is, I'm trying to make sure we still get all these folks admitted. Ms. Myra Hippolyte with the City of Houston's Department of Neighborhoods. And our presenting partners today is Ms. Mabel Menifee with the Harris County Appraisal District and Ms. Elizabeth Doss with Harris County Tax Assessor Collector's Office. Also included in the partnership are our legal service organizations with Lone Star Legal Aid, the Earl Carl Institute, Houston Volunteer Lawyers, and Houston Bar Association. For those workshops that you see that there is a course number, Houston Bar Association is offering continuing legal education credits for attorneys that do participate in our month of service program. So when you register, please make sure that you include your bar number so that you'll be able to receive those credits. So for those of you that are joining us for the first time, we'd like to say welcome, and we hope that you find all of the information that you, or get all the information that you came to receive, as well as have all of your questions answered and addressed. For those of you that have been here before, welcome back. Thank you for continuing to support our month of service collaboration. So we basically know all of our organizations have come together and have been working together for the past few years. And due to the fact that we all pretty much have the same goal or the mission in mind is to service pretty much all the same communities and help empower the community and get information out, available resources to people so that they'll know what options are available, what services are out there. We know, some communities receive more information than the other, but we wanted to make sure that it becomes like an even playing field so that everybody receives the same information all over, regardless of where you are or located or what have you. So this virtual platform came about, of course, due to COVID, and it's been working out great for us. Hey, Pastor Deb, thank you for joining us. We had hoped at some point to try to do hybrid to kind of get back out into the community. We used to be able to do these workshops in person, but of course, we've had to adjust and adapt and do them all virtually. So we're going to continue to stay virtual to make sure that we keep everybody protected and to stay safe. Eventually, to get back into doing it in person, but also continue to offer it on a virtual basis as well. So, so stay tuned for that. Again, my name is Nia Murray, and again, thank you guys for joining us. We are streaming this workshop on Facebook Live. We also are recording the session, so we will be sending out a link to all of those that have registered so that you can share it or go back and review it again or pass it along to neighbors, friends, loved ones, or whomever that may find this information to be beneficial. So we definitely hope that you would pay it forward and share this information. So information that we do provide here is for educational purposes only. Some of our workshops are legal in nature or have some kind of legal aspect involved in it. Again, the information here is very general, and everybody's situation is completely, personal and specific and unique. So if you have a personal detailed question, we ask that you reach out to the appraisal district or to the HCAD office so that they can have your particular issue addressed in person, personally. If there is a general question that you have, please feel free to either type it in the chat or unmute yourself and ask directly. But again, because we are recording and it is on social media, being streamed live on social media, we want to protect your privacy as much as possible and ask that you not give out, too much detailed information about your own personal situation. So to try to keep it as broad as you possibly can. So, but again, we do encourage you guys to ask questions. So someone will be available to answer your questions in that regards. So with that being said, we are going to introduce our presenters, and we are going to move right on into the presentation. We know tax season is here. Bills are due, and folks need answers. Folks need assistance. They need payment options, payment arrangements, and they need to know what it is that they can do. So we're here to provide that information for you. With that being said, Ms. Myra, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Nia. Good afternoon. My name is Myra Hippolyte, and I work with the City of Houston Department of Neighborhoods under the direction of Director Takasha Francis. We want to welcome you to the month of service on behalf of Mayor Turner and Director Francis. We want to let you know that this is a wonderful collaboration between different organizations, and it's all about giving back free information to the Houston, Harris County, state of Texas community. Every time there's a disaster or an emergency, you will know one thing, that the A Month of Service partners will be there to assist you, giving you free information on whatever situation is going on. So know that you're not alone, and that's what it's all about. We want to make sure that you know that through this process, and whatever's going on in your life, whatever decisions you have to make, that you're not alone. You have a team of partners that are here. We're walking right by your side. Of course, we're not holding your hand. We're walking by your side by giving you free information and giving you different partners. This collaboration is all about letting you know that if there's something going on, there's a partner here that can assist you in whatever concerns you have. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great day. It's a great new year. February is coming up, and we have a great new schedules that are coming in, new virtual workshops. And so come on back, and we're here for you. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Okay, Ms. Mabel.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mabel Menifee. I'm with the Harris County Appraisal District. And as soon as Nia opened this meeting, Zoom decided that I needed to update. So I am hoping that I'm still able to share my screen. And let's see if that's going to work.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, Elizabeth, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Doss, and I'm with Ann Harris Bennett, the Harris County Tax Assessor Collector. And I thank you guys for joining today. I'm going to go through the presentation. I also have Stephanie Aguirre in the chat. So if you have just general questions or anything specific, if you want to chat with her and she can get you back those answers. We're going to go over lots of things because, of course, January 31st is just around the corner. And I know everybody's either got their bill or are getting ready to pay it. And I'm just going to try to help you navigate that within our COVID world.
Okay, Ms. Mabel.
Okay, so I am back to my screen, and I'm going to share it with you again, because still back. And
in the meantime, I still just want to make sure that everybody is reminded that please feel free to type whatever questions that you have in the chat. We do have someone that is monitoring those, and we will be going over those at the end so that everybody can kind of hear what's being asked and what's being answered. And Miss Stephanie Aguirre with the Harris County Tax Office just put her information in the chat for you if you guys would like to reach out to them directly.
And in the meantime, maybe Miss Elizabeth Doss can go ahead and get started, and then in the process that Miss Mabel gets.
right.
Sure. We can do it a little reverse. That's no problem. I'm happy to
Sure.
get started. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share and start with my presentation. We'll get to the presentation first, and then I'll give you some pointers on our website. So where we are today, obviously, is tax season time. So I'm going to go through a little bit about our office real fast, and then we'll get to the meat, if you will, of tax season. Again, I'm with Miss Ann Harris Bennett. She's the Harris County Tax Assessor Collector. In our offices, and we always kind of stop here just so everybody's real understanding, there are over 500 taxing units within Harris County, and Mabel would have gone over that at the beginning. But And there are lots of different tax offices. I'm with the Harris County Tax Office, and we do collect for 78 jurisdictions, but again, there's hundreds more that we don't collect for. So I want everybody to just make sure they understand, if you will get a bill from Ann Harris Bennett, but generally you might get a bill from someplace else. So we collect for City of Houston, Houston Independent School District, Houston Community College. So if you're within that group, you probably only get a tax bill from our office. However, if you live outside of one of the school districts we collect, or outside the City of Houston, you probably will get a tax bill, either for a mud district or for a school district, water districts. There's lots of things like that out there. So I always want to stop right here and just make sure you're getting all the tax bills you need to get. If you're not sure if you're getting them all, if you go to start with the Harris County Appraisal District's website at hcad.org, look up your account, and it does list all the jurisdictions your account number is within and what tax offices. You can hover over the links and it'll get you to those bills. So it's important to know, to make sure, especially if you're new to the house you're living in now, or you have new property, you want to make sure you're getting all those tax bills. Okay, this is the kind of the crux of how taxes work in Texas, no matter if you're in Harris County or Cameron County or Lubbock County or any of these kinds of things. This is all written by Texas statute. It's all within something called the Texas Tax Code. So what begins property taxes in Texas is the January 1 evaluation that the appraisal district does, and maybe we'll go over that in a little bit, where they take all the evaluations of the property at the January 1 valuation period, and they're working on that now. It's kind of that time of the year for them, and then they will then start sending out evaluation notices. So a lot of property owners will get those green notices, February, March, April time period. And then it goes into a period of equalization where you have opportunity to protest those values. And that kind of goes on through all summer long because we have so many properties in Harris County. And maybe we'll talk about that. We have 1.7 million properties. It could be almost 1.8. I'm not real sure their number, but that equates to, on my end, 1.6 million tax statements. So how we get to a tax statement is we take those values that the appraisal district evaluates your property at market value. And then once market value is assessed, then they determine if you have an appraisal cap or what jurisdictions that you have been granted that jurisdiction allows. And once those appraisal caps or exemptions come off, you're then basically at a taxable value. That value then, and those rolls come out sometime late summer and go to all the taxing jurisdictions in Harris County. So the school districts, the cities, the MUDs, they all get these evaluations, and they do something called truth in taxation, is where they start the calculation process of tax rates. So tax bills have two points. You have to have a value and you have to have a tax rate. And once that value has been finished, the taxing jurisdictions then adopt a tax rate. And then that information comes to the tax office, and we take your taxable value times your tax rate, divide by 100, and that equals to your tax bill. There are a couple of times when that doesn't equal out. Generally, if you have a tax ceiling, and we're going to go over that, some of those kinds of things where if you have a different agricultural appraisal, that could be a little different. But just so you know, general homestead normal tax bills are value times a rate equals your tax bill. So it gives you an idea of how the math is done on your tax bill. This is what our tax bill currently looks like. And we have a red border and a seal that's in color. So you at least know when you're getting that tax bill in the mail, it's an official Harris County Tax Office tax bill. So there's no doubt that it is a correct bill and you're paying the correct location. It's going to have your account number on it. It's going to have your owner address. So you're going to know, just make sure, check everything, make sure it's your bill. It's going to have your property description, your legal description from the appraisal district, all of the market value put out between land and improvement. If you have an appraisal cap, if you have an appraised value, all that data comes from the appraisal district to all the taxing units. So we all get that data. And then our bill lists all the different jurisdictions we collect that is associated with your tax bill. My example here that we're going to use throughout the presentation is an HISD City of Houston Community College bill. And then it's going to show their exemption removed, the taxable value, the tax rates by jurisdiction, and then the taxes amount by each jurisdiction on our bill. A lot of school bills, there'll be just maybe one taxing jurisdiction, so you may only see one, but on a consolidated office, you'll see multiple jurisdictions. The problem, I mean, the second part of your bill is what we call is the coupon at the bottom. So our paper has a perforated edge, so you can pull it off very easily and put it in the mail with your check if that's how you choose to pay your property taxes. It's important that the coupon goes with it if you have the ability to have it. And if you don't have it, I'll show you on our website where you can print it off on regular paper and cut it and stick it in there, because we want to make sure when your check gets to process that it gets processed on the correct account number. Because a lot of people may have similar names, similar addresses, and we want to make sure that your account number is at least written on your check if you're not able to print a coupon to mail with it. That was the tax bill. Now let's talk about how to make savings on a tax bill. And this is the most important thing we can talk about property owners. And Mabel's going to go over a lot of this. Is the only way really your value can go down is obviously if your value of your property goes down, which she can talk about how to protest, and exemptions. So I talk about the exemption side because that's how it impacts the bill that our office sends to you. Basically, how you get that taxable value down is obviously apply for any homestead exemptions that you are able to get granted to you. So our example here, and this is kind of where really everybody understands the benefit of a residential homestead of some kind. Our first tax bill, and this is on an average home value. The last time we pulled an average home value in Harris County, it's $177,000. So that kind of gives you an idea of where our sample is. On a tax bill with Houston ISD, so this has a school district on it, it's almost $4,500 is the tax bill with no homestead exemption. When you go on into a homestead exemption, it's just the 20% homestead exemption. Now on a 20% homestead exemption, you just have to own it on January 1, make sure your driver's license gets changed there and fill out your application as early as you can. And send it over to the appraisal district. If you buy a property throughout the year, go ahead and you can fill out that application for the next year. And there are some rules changing on homestead exemption as a proration of your first year, which we will be talking about later in this springtime because it does not affect until next tax year. So this kind of gives you an idea of where you are on a homestead exemption. So City of Houston and HISD and HCC all offer a homestead. So you can see you have an $1,100 savings just for having homestead exemption. And when you turn over 65, or if you're unfortunately disabled, there is additional savings. A lot of jurisdictions have additional homestead exemption offering for over 65 and disabled. We're using Harris County's here. So you can see Harris County has a $229,000 value exemption. So basically any property that's evaluated under 229 plus the 20% will not pay taxes to Harris County. So if your value of your home is under that, when you turn over 65, you're going to understand why your bill is going to drop, because you won't be paying Harris County. The Harris County flood, the port, the hospital, Department of Education also has a fairly high exemption. So does the City of Houston. A good portion of your tax bill would probably just from your school district. And we'll talk about those tax ceilings and things at that point. But you can see the significant savings on a tax bill once you have granted homestead exemption. Okay, so let's talk about the two things. If you're not over 65, you may know someone, or you're going to get there one of these days. So there's some real benefit in Texas. The legislatures for many, many years have always been trying to develop new laws that would help property owners when they get ready to retire and learn that set income to be able to stay in their home. And one of the first ones, this one in the tax code is called a tax limitation, but you can hear a lot of people call it a tax ceiling, a tax freeze. But basically, and then you'll have some people that say, I don't pay any taxes. And the reason they don't pay any taxes is because they had a tax limitation, and the way it calculated out, it helped them in the benefit where they aren't paying any taxes. So how your tax limitation is calculated the year you turn over 65, we're going to take all the values that the appraisal district sends and all the different taxing jurisdictions and basically calculate your bill minus all your exemptions. So for example, for HISD, which is going to be required to do a tax ceiling because all schools have a tax ceilings. There are some other taxing jurisdictions that have adopted it. some small cities, some junior colleges like Lone Star College. So it just depends on the jurisdiction if they have a tax ceiling, but schools are required. So on a tax bill, for example, if your HIC tax bill is $1,000 the year you turn over 65, basically it's going to be the ceiling, and you won't ever pay higher than that $1,000 unless you have some new improvement to your home, not just upkeep, but like you've added on a room, a swimming pool, and things like that. That could alter your tax ceiling. But if you're just maintaining your home, you know that tax ceiling is going to be there for the school district, which is the largest part of your bill. And that kind of helps you understand, your tax liabilities for the future, that tax ceiling. The other thing the legislatures have set in for folks that are over 65 and disabled is something called a tax deferral. Now, let me explain tax deferral, because there are lots of, complications, and it's very complicated. And a lot of people are like, no, I don't want a tax deferral. I always recommend to everybody who's over 65, when they're filling out that application for a homestead exemption, to go ahead and fill out the application for a tax deferral. They're two different forms. I would go ahead and recommend filling them both out. A tax deferral, let's sort of explain it like an insurance policy. You can have it there, but you don't ever need to use it. You can fill out a tax deferral and still pay your taxes every year. There's no problems with that. If you have that ability, that's great. The one time the tax deferral is going to help you, even if you normally would pay your taxes, is what if, you go on vacation, in a different COVID world, you might go on vacation in January, and you forget to pay your taxes. On February 1 in the tax code, we're assessing penalty and interest of 7%. And that's what the tax code in the state of Texas requires. However, if you have a tax deferral, we're only charging you a 5% for the entire year. So we would take 5% and divide it by the 365 days, and it's a very low amount. So for whatever reason, if you forget to pay your taxes on time, or for some reason it doesn't get postmarked on time, and we'll talk about that, having a tax deferral could save you money if you happen to be over 65 or disabled. The other reason to have one, just in case, is if for some reason you go in the hospital, you get sick, you lose your job, whatever the situation is, and you are unable to make your taxes on time. Again, the tax deferral will keep you paying at a very low rate, and it will actually keep you from having foreclosures or things like that. And I know a lot of homeowners don't want to push off their taxes to their heirs, to their children, and I totally understand that. Tax deferral is if for some reason you can't afford your taxes and you want to stay in your home, it gives you the opportunity to do so. Tax deferral, it's a very low rate. The interest rate's very low. It's 5% for the entire year. And it stays from the minute you get your tax deferral until you either pass away or move. That period is always going to be in the deferral period, and it will be a low balance to pay off. But, at the end of the day, is if your decision is, do I need to pay my taxes or am I paying for my medication? Obviously, this is what the legislature wanted, is for you to be able to pay your medications, stay in your house, and your taxes can be paid at some other point in the future, either when you pass away or you sell your home. So that's what a tax deferral is about. Okay, so payment plans. We have lots of different payment plans. The only one really where I'm going to focus a lot on now is what we're calling, this first column is called our quarter pay. It's kind of our slang, but it's for anybody who's over 65, disabled, surviving spouse of disability. When we say over 65 or disabled, there are so many different types of over 65 and disabled. There are veterans. You have a surviving spouse of a disability. You have a surviving spouse of an over 65. So there's lots of things that go in there. If you have the ability when you turn over 65 or you have been granted those exemptions, to know is you can pay your tax bill, the one that just got in the mail a couple months ago. You can divide that one in 4, and then just make sure you make the 1/4 payment before January 31st. And with our office, we're going to go ahead and we do a query basically and check all the accounts in February. Any over 65 or disabled account that has made a quarter pay, we're going to assume that's what you wanted to do. And then we're going to send you out your quarterly payments, your coupons to reminder, or you can email us or call our office and we can do that at the same time. But basically what we'll do is those payments are due at the end of March, May, and July. So basically you would take your tax bill, divide by 4, make your first payment by January 31st. And then the next one is due before March, May, and July. And we do send coupons to as reminders for those over 65 and disabled property owners who want to pay their taxes in 4 equal installments. The other type of payment plans in the tax code are when the taxes become past due. Now, you could have some past due taxes on prior years that are there, and we can do a payment plan right now for those prior year taxes. However, for tax year 2021 in Texas, mostly they don't go delinquent until February 1. If your account was, billed on time, you have a January 31 due date. If it was late certified and you haven't gotten your bill, you could look at the appraisal district website to see, if you can tell, when it's coming to the tax office. It gives you some ideas on the dates on when you would get those bills. Those bills would be due at a different time, but 99% of our bills are due January 31st. And what we suggest at this point is if you don't have enough money to pay all those taxes by January 31st, pay whatever you can between here and there, because there's no penalty and interest associated on anything you can pay. So if you think you're going to do a payment plan, go ahead and pretend to make your first payment in January. That way that those penalty and interest are not associated on that part you pay before January 31st. Now, sometime in February, if you weren't able to make it, or even March or, April, the longer, you can put it off if you need to, but you can always contact our office in February after those taxes become past due, and one of our reps, or you can email us, or you can go on our website and request a payment plan, and then we can get you some information on a payment plan. Homesteads, non-homesteads, the tax code allows us to go from the minimum of 12 months all the way up to 36 months. There are some homeowners that may have multiple years due and aren't able to make those monthly payments if it's a 12-month payment plan, but maybe they are for 24 or 36. So we do offer those. The really two different things in the payment plans is by statute is if you have a homestead exemption, your interest is different. We're only charging you 1% interest and your penalty stops accruing. So that kind of gives you a little incentive as a homestead. That was, the legislature put that in recently because they want to give homeowners really an opportunity to get caught up on their taxes. If it's any other property, if it's a commercial or residential, or if you have any other property that you have owned and that is past due, we can still set you up in a payment plan. You do accrue regular penalty and interest. However, we won't turn you over to a delinquent attorney when those go delinquent in July. So that does save you some attorney's fees at that point. So at any point you have prior year taxes, it's always best to start off our website and look to see if there's a payment plan for you can fill out. Email us or give us a call sometime after they're past due, anytime in February, so we could get you set up on that payment plan. Another thing that a lot of people have done in recent years is we start accepting prepayments. You'd be surprised. There are some people already starting to pay their 2022 taxes because they just finished their 2021 and they're like, okay, let me go ahead and get started. Because a lot of people escrow, that's fine, that's great. A lot of people are able to just put money in their savings account and at the end of the year pay. But some folks are like, you know what, I don't want to hang on to it. Let me just send it to you. So we get monthly payments, starting now, next month, 2 months from now, on taxes that will be for a future coming up year. So 2022 taxes, of course, are just now being appraised all summer long before equalization is done and those values come over. So again, those bills won't go out until the fall, October and November. So you have some time to save up some money to get those taxes paid. And if you'd like to make those payments to us, you can mail us a check and go to our branch and let us know it's for your 2022 taxes. Okay, so payment options. This is kind of where everybody is how do we make our payments? January 31st is coming up. It's on a Monday this year. However, you can pay it anytime between here and there. Online, obviously, is one of the most convenient ways to pay. It's fairly easy to go into our website. We do have a credit card fee of 2.35 that the credit cards do charge to use. But our e-checks are free. So if you were going to try to drop a check in the mail, it is fairly easy to just go onto the website and make that e-check payment. You would get your receipt then, and you kind of know it's been done if you get your account number all entered correctly. And starting earlier is always better to make sure it gets done correctly. If you are going to do it by mail, I want to make sure everybody understands postmark. Just dropping it in the blue box outside the post office on January 31st is probably not going to get you a January 31st postmark. We have seen over recent years where a lot of postmarks don't postmark at that location. They ship it up to that north airport at the airport, the North Post Office Airport, where they postmark, which could be a couple of days. So you would definitely have a February postmark. And in the tax code, it says we either have to have it in person by January 31st, or it has to be postmarked. So make sure if you are dropping something in the mail that you're leaving enough time, or you going into the post office and get it hand canceled to make sure that January 31st is there. Because we scan envelopes, so that's how we make sure we process those payments correctly. Telephone, of course, you can do it online, and the telephone with your credit card or e-check. And in person by appointment. When the county judge, we went back to that red status, we're only allowed to have 25% inside of our county buildings. So just know if you want, or if you're one of those who like to go in person and pay your property taxes, to go ahead and get signed up on that, on a find a branch that you like to attend and get you an appointment, because I know they are filling up fast. So if you are one to like to come into a branch, please go ahead and get your an appointment, and just make sure you check our website regularly to make sure that branch is open. You know, some folks are coming in now to make that payments just to, you know, not have to wait in line, which is great. But please, if you're going to come into a branch, be sure to check our website. And I'll show you real quick, because there are times where a branch is closed due to COVID staffing issues. So we don't want you to go to a branch that's not open that day. So let's be sure, be sure to check our website. Important dates, of course, then the one that we've been talking about is January 31st is the last day to pay without penalty and interest. In between January and July is we'd like for you to set up a payment plan, so we can keep you from being turned over to delinquent attorneys. So they're, by statute, they start collecting at that point for their jurisdictions. So we want to make sure we get you a payment plan before then. Here's our website, and here are our email addresses. To our website at hctax.net, it's right here in the corner, is where we need you to set up your payment for your appointment. So I'm going to stop my PowerPoint real quick and going to go over and show you guys our website. This is our website today. These are the branches that are closed due to shortages. They change, as we're able to allow them folks to go back in that building and we have enough staff. But this is what I really wanted to show you guys is property tax transaction. So if you really want to come in and pay your property taxes online, in person, is please go ahead and make an appointment, because we are only allowed to have 25% inside of our county buildings for the county judge. So that's kind of where we are about property taxes. So I'm going to stop the share, and then we're going to let Mabel come in and do her part of the presentation, and then we're going to take questions at the end. Mabel, are you ready?
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. Let me pull up my screen. And we'll do share screen, and okay, and let me get it on the right. Apologies, for some reason I was kicked out of the Zoom decided to update me, and so I got kicked out. So can everybody see that? I need to everyone see me?
Yeah, we can see your presentation.
And I just need to put it to slideshow. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. All the way to the top.
Everyone see me?
In the middle. Keep going to right on top.
New slide.
That's it.
Okay.
No, that's
Now,
that.
go up where it says, where the titles are, right there.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's underneath. I can barely see it. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
It's
There, from
not
beginning.
from
There, right there.
Okay, here we go. All right, thanks everybody. Sorry about that.
No problem.
But again, my name is Mabel. I'm with the Harris County Appraisal District. And typically I go first, but in this case, it's fine because the spotlight this time of year is on the tax office for most folks. So as I said, I'm with the Harris County Appraisal District, and we are the folks who Our primary role is to value property, and I am as the Central Appraisal District of Harris County. There's a central appraisal district in each and every county in Texas. Each one has one, and in each county, our job is the job of the CAD, as we call them, is to appraise all of the county residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, as well as something called business personal property. And we are required by state statute to do it at 100% of market value. And in Texas, we do it each and every year. Values are based on the condition of the property as of January 1st of each year. As I mentioned also, the appraisal district's role in all of this, you've heard Elizabeth talk about the tax office and the tax assessor collectors role. Our role is to appraise the property, and we also manage exemptions and maintain all of the records for that. And then our role each year, an important one, to make sure government, local taxing jurisdictions are funded, is that each year around August or so, early August or so, we certify the appraisal rolls. And what that means is we actually tell the taxing jurisdictions, we've settled this amount of, we settled up to 85 to 95% of the value in the county, because we've sent out the valuation notices in usually around early to mid-March. Taxpayers and property owners who want to protest or who disagree with that value have come in, and we've settled that value with them up to at least 95% of it throughout the county. And this is our certified tax estimate. And that allows those taxing jurisdictions, such as the city, the county, and the entities underneath them, the police departments, fire departments, to go ahead and complete their budgets, and so that the jurisdictions can set the tax rates for the coming year. And that is what you get from the tax office. So as I mentioned, CADs were essentially created to try and keep the system fair. Prior to 1979, which is when we were set up and officially became a subunit of the state government, each and every taxing jurisdiction did their own valuations of your property and assigned you a tax rate. Now it's just HCAD. We do it for all of those jurisdictions. And as I mentioned before, we appraise at market value. We are reviewed by the state based on our performance in terms of doing that correctly. We also, there's also something known as the Appraisal Review Board, which was also created at the same time the appraisal districts were. The Appraisal Review Board is a group of individuals, property owners in that county, who, if you disagree with what we have assigned as value, you can appeal to them to say, this HCAD is incorrect, and here's what I think my property value is worth. My property is worth, and you also would bring in some additional proof to show, and then that independent panel would make the decision. We also have something we don't talk about a lot, but called a taxpayer liaison. And that's an individual who works for the HCAD board. We have a 7-person board of directors that's appointed by the taxing jurisdictions, the major taxing jurisdictions. That person is kind of someone you can go to if you don't feel your appraisal review board process was handled properly. And essentially that has to do with procedural issues. You can also, if you don't agree with your appraisal that the appraised ARB has provided you with, you can also go to something called arbitration. And I'm not real sure. I wanted to talk a little bit too about CADs being created to keep the system fair. Now we're going to talk a little bit about valuations. So one of the things that we do as part of the AMOS workshop series is that beginning in March, we will start doing a series of workshops, about 3 or 4, that are designed for people who want to protest their property, who want to understand that process and what it's like. It's very easy to do. It's your right as a property owner to do so. And we encourage you to do it, which is why we hold we hold this workshop series in the spring on protesting your property. So we're going to get a little bit more into that. If you're listening to us for the first time, I would like to encourage you to make sure that you tune in to those workshops that are going to be held, as I said, in March, April, and May. And the reason we hold them that time is because your valuation notices start going out around early March to mid-March. So everyone's getting those. So it's the perfect time to help you understand what your rights are in terms of protesting your market value. On those particular workshops, we're also going to have, as part of the presentation, HCAD participants who are senior appraisers and valuation analysts, who can also help you understand the process a little bit better, because they are the content subject experts on how that process is done. So next, I would like to, go to, want to just kind of, as we talk a little bit about HCAD, everyone I'm sure is aware of the fact that in Houston, the housing market has been going bonkers over the last couple of years. These are just a couple of headlines I pulled to just sort of drive home that point, which is why I think a lot of people are going to want to tune into the into our workshops come later in the spring. So you'll see some of these. These are all taken from the Houston Chronicle, and they were all kind of pulled out within the last 5 or 6 months. So as you can see, there's a lot of chatter, a lot of activity around the housing market in Houston. And of course, as the housing market heats up, so values do tend to go up. So what you get from us now that we are out in the field, our appraisers are out in the field. You may actually see people walking around in your neighborhood with an HCAD appraiser jacket on. They are not going to come on your property. They're essentially going to be inspecting it from the outside. And they will be compiling all sorts of data along with the valuation analyst to come up with that valuation that you will receive in the mail. And it's called our annual valuation notice and it will be for 2022. Once you receive this notice, the deadline for filing a protest is going to be on it. It's usually May the 15th, or if you receive it late, you're noticed late. So you're noticed after April the 16th, after April the 15th, actually, then you have 30 days from the date of that notice to file your protest. As I mentioned earlier, we have a workshop series that we hold each spring, and we look, you're certainly welcome to tune in again, and we will be going over specific information about how you can protest. And by then we'll have a lot of information that we can share with you in terms of the values and the trends and that sort of thing. So again, be sure to tune into those. A little bit about market and appraised value. So when you get that notice, you're going to have two values on there. You're going to have the market value and as well as the appraised value. The market value is that which a property would sell to for a willing buyer on the open market. That is the value that HCAD determines. The appraised value is going to be perhaps the same as market value, or it could be lower. And that's because of the 10% appraisal caps for property owners with homestead exemptions. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But before then, I just wanted to also add that value changes, as we talked a little bit earlier, are reviewed annually by HCAD. We do that once a year. It's sales price again, can go up or down due to various market forces. And your appraised value is what you would pay if you have a homestead exemption. And it's going to be the appraised value times the tax rate. And those tax rates are set by each of the taxing jurisdictions. Again, taxing jurisdictions, a lot of people, the jurisdiction simply means a taxing entity, such as the school district or the city of Houston, usually done by the city, usually adopted by the city council, or your county taxes, which are adopted and put in place by your county commissioners. So let's talk a little bit about exemptions again. Elizabeth had talked about them in terms of that's how those are applied when they're figuring your tax bill. So exemptions basically reduce the appraised value before reduce the property value before tax rates are applied. There are a number of them that you may qualify for. And just to kind of go over them, the general resident homestead exemption, there is an over 65 exemption. And a lot of people tend to think these two are the same. They are not. The general resident homestead exemption is for your primary property. The over 65 is an additional exemption you get as a part of the resident homestead exemption once you turn 65. There's the over 55, the disability. There's an exemption for disabled veterans, several. Survivor of a first responder killed in the line of duty, and something called an airship exemption. The general residence homestead exemption is usually the most common. The requirement to receive this is that you must own and occupy the home as your primary residence. We do require documentation for that, usually in the form of a driver's license that matches the address of the property for which you're applying for the exemption. Again, it provides a 10% appraisal increase cap. That's one of the primary protections. You also get several reductions. You can get reductions depending on the jurisdiction. Some jurisdictions offer bigger reductions, exemption reductions than others do. So it sort of depends at that point on where you live. But everyone has the 10% appraisal increase cap. And how that protects you is in a on fire market, as I showed you a little bit in those headlines. When the market is on fire like that, you can have communities where values go up, can go up as much as 15, 20, in some cases even 25%. What this does is it protects you from that kind of rapid increase, because your property, your value can never increase beyond more than 10% in a single year. That's the increase, that's the cap that you have, protection that you have from those skyrocketing values. And you also have a school tax exemption. And the over 65 exemption is something that one thing to look forward to about turning 65, and you qualify for that for the entire year. Once you turn 65, you get all of those. And the disability exemption, which are the over 65 and disability exemptions, are pretty much the same. There are some few differences, but all in all, they're the same. And benefits, additional benefits for those include a school tax ceiling, or we call it a freeze. I think Elizabeth may have talked about it a little bit, but essentially it means that the amount that you pay for school taxes, the year that you turn 65, you'll never pay more than that. If the value drops on the property, your value, your payments could go down because of the decrease in value, but it will never increase in value unless, of course, you do something to the property that causes the value to be reset, such as building a swimming pool in the back, or you do some remodeling where you add an addition to the home. So the value then becomes more and it will be reset, but you'll still maintain, but it'll be reset at a rate that then you continue the the benefits under. You also receive an additional $10,000 in exemptions for school taxes in addition to what you're already receiving. And you're eligible for the tax deferral, as Elizabeth mentioned. You're also eligible to pay taxes in installments without penalties. That's part of this 65 and disability. And you can pay those, as I mentioned before, without penalties. It's always a good idea to check if you have a mortgage. It's always a good idea to check with your mortgage company to make sure that's something that is allowed under your lending covenants. The other exemptions, just to kind of run quickly through those, include the disabled, veteran, or survivors, which involves a service-connected disability. The 100% or totally disabled one, and there's a partially disabled veteran with a donated residence. Many of you have heard about organizations like Wounded Warrior or others that may build homes for disabled veterans. Well, there's a special tax exemption that comes with those. The other exemptions include some relating to the surviving spouse of a service member killed in action, as well as the surviving spouse of a first responder who's killed in the line of duty. I want to talk a little bit about some of the changes that are coming online now as a result of the, some of you will remember that seemingly never-ending legislative session that we had last year in 2021, the 87th biennial. But there actually were 3 sessions. And in the regular session, there were several bills that came forward that there are going to be some changes coming forward in 2022. One is an immediate tax exemption for your homestead. Used to be last year that if you bought your home after January the 1st, you were not eligible for the homestead exemption until the following January, because as I mentioned earlier, we kind of do everything. Value is based on the condition of the home on January the 1st. Well, because of this new legislation, we will now prorate it based on the date of purchase. Once it's approved and you provide the appropriate paperwork and required documentation to the Central Appraisal District. At HCAD, we are working on making sure all of these changes are properly encoded across our automated platforms. And so we will be talking about those from a standpoint of how HCAD will be administering them at next month's workshop. So again, another opportunity for you to tune in. But in the meantime, I wanted to go through these and make everyone aware of the changes that are coming down the pipe. So again, in the regular session, I mentioned that the House Bill 988, which is about new rules. There are some new rules regarding binding arbitration. Another interesting one that I'm sure those of you who plan on protesting, who may have protested in the past, there are now going to be, you remember, usually there used to be a 3-person panel that you went before, that you presented your information to, and they made that decision on whether or not or how your value was going to be reduced. You can now request a 1-person ARB panel beginning this year. I think that makes it probably a little less intimidating for many people, and I think the legislature saw that. You can also request informal settlement hearings. Again, I'm sort of running down these changes so that you guys will know they're coming down the pipe. And again, stay tuned, and we will be providing additional information as these changes are implemented by HCAD and other central, as well as other central appraisal districts across the state. They were passed in August as well as into September in the fall. And so as they're being interpreted and guidance is being provided by the comptroller's office, CADs like us are busy implementing those, and we will have that additional information available. Some of the other ones that were passed, some of the other changes that were passed during the special sessions, as I mentioned, include the homestead exemption. There's going to be an increase in that from 25,000 to 40,000. And that's, I believe, has to do with the school districts, as well as the Senate Bill 8, which prorates, as I mentioned, homestead exemptions in your year of purchase. So you will be able to get that homestead exemption the year that you, for the particular, from the time that you bought the home for your first year. And there's also a recalculation of the school tax ceiling for people over 65 and who are disabled. So again, these changes are going to be coming out. We'll be rolling out the procedures for those over the coming weeks and months. One other one that was caused a lot of confusion following Winter Storm Uri last year had to do with, as well as during COVID, had to do with the disaster exemption that was passed in the 2019 legislature. And when they passed that one back then, they were largely considering the idea of hurricanes. That was what they, that was the working premise, that it would be to help individuals and property owners in Texas, especially when it came to hurricanes. No one knew that there would be a COVID, a pandemic, which equates to a disaster in many ways, as well as a winter storm where a prolonged freeze caused a lot of damage to property. So they went back and clarified what that disaster exemption was designed to do. So it does pertain to areas where, first of all, the governor has to issue a disaster declaration for that. And then the authorization, the exemptions have to meet a certain degree of physical damage in order to for you to be eligible to receive it. So and there are actually 4 levels of exemption. So you must have at least 15% of the damage. So 15 to 30% is a level 1. As you can see, they've clarified them into different levels, and the level 4 is a total loss. Believe it or not, we're still working with individuals regarding Tropical Storm Uri and the exemptions that some homeowners qualified for because of the level or extent of damage they experienced due to burst pipes and things like that. So there's a little bit more clarification around that. So people who, you may have remembered a lot of folks who were severely damaged economically, felt like they should be able to receive the exemption. And that's not, so the legislature had to go back and clarify that it relates to physical damage of the property. So what are the qualifications for an exemption? You must own and occupy the home as your primary residence. And we do require proof of that. That includes more than likely your driver's licenses are going to have to, your driver's license address has to match that of your of the property where you're applying for it. So you will have to submit that documentation when you are applying for the exemptions. And again, I want to stress that the exemptions that we've gone over are not granted automatically. You would think, well, you moved in and maybe it feels like it should be, but you have to apply for them. That includes the over 65, that which is different from the general residence homestead exemption. And it's very important to apply for these because these are the easiest ways to save money and not you simply giving money away if you're not taking advantage of those. There are many easy ways to apply for the exemptions. You can mail the forms in, you can email them. to our help desk. We have a mobile app that you can download and process the exemptions through that. Or we have online forms that are fillable and you can submit them to HCAD. It's very important to kind of to submit everything at once so that there's no delay in the process. And one of the things I did not mention that is also going to be changing is that once the paperwork is submitted, we begin a 90-day countdown to make sure that your exemption is processed and applied. So it's very important for you to make sure that you send in all of the documentation. Once your exemptions have been processed and approved, you can verify those by reviewing the back of the valuation notice each year. So on page 2, on the flip side of your valuation notice, you can see all of the exemptions that you have. So I mentioned the HCAD mobile app that you can download for that. And I've used this, and it was quite easy to do, quite easy to use. You can download it, the app from either the Apple Store, or you can download it Android from Google. Here's what our online homestead exemption application looks like. Again, excuse me, it is fillable. And so you can submit it directly online. Just wanted to show you guys this because you typically get this. You probably received something that looked like this, a card in the mail last month. This is our annual confirmation card that we send out to individuals who have a homestead, just confirming that, letting you know that your homestead is still in place. If your situation has changed, you've moved, or you no longer the person who is receiving the homestead has passed away or moved, then we do need to know that, so that you do need to contact us to make sure that your information is updated. One of the things that we do, this postcard is not forwardable. There's no forwarding allowed, so it comes back to HCAD. That lets us know that to do 2 things. One, we will try in other ways to get in contact with that homeowner to make sure that their exemption, that they are still eligible for that exemption. And when we can't, it may, at some point, that exemption may roll off. So if you don't see this exemption in the mail, if you see it, nothing's changed, don't worry about it. Just throw it off to the side. If you haven't received it, then you may just want to check with HCAD just to make sure that nothing has changed on your account. So our website, I mentioned that a lot of our services are readily available on it, is at www.hcad.org. And again, you can go, if you're looking for a particular property, you can do property searches. You can, if you're interested in HCAD, who the board members are, what sort of news releases we put out and things, you can check that out. If you're interested in a job, we have positions available all the time. You can go to our careers line. Our online services are where you can set up an account. Our forms are where I mentioned where you can find the exemptions accounts. You can find forms for lots of varied things as well. And then there are maps. And you can also click the contact box up here. So we are currently open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Our access is to our first floor customer service department, as well as our 3rd floor. And we're open from 8 a.m. to 5. You can also, as I mentioned, as I just showed you, go to our website. You can also email us at help@hcad.org. Our general phone number is here at 9713-957-7800. And we also frequently post updates on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Nextdoor. So that concludes my presentation. Again, I hope that those of you who are out there listening now will join us again. We're always trying to provide interesting and updated information to you, as well as the basic information that you as an individual property owner can make sure that you are not confused about property taxes, who you should contact, where you should go when something is due. And you can also be a resource for other people in your community or within your own family for the same information. So with that, I'm going to close out, and I guess we're going to go to questions now. Thank you so much for your attention and participation.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Mabel and Miss Elizabeth. I know Stephanie has been answering a lot of the questions in the chat. However, I do want to go back and review some of the questions in case people aren't paying attention or are not monitoring the chat. They may have some of the same questions that everybody else may have had. So the first one here is, I think you went over the payment plans. If you are allowing payment plans this year, are we needing, or do they have to wait until February 1st to request one?
Yes, so payment plans are for taxes when they're past due. So if your taxes, of course, aren't going to be due until January 31st. So anytime in February, you can go to our website, send us an email or give us a call and request a payment plan.
Okay, and if they requested one last year, they're also okay to still apply for one this year?
Correct. So if you're in a payment plan now and you're making those payments, what we can do is stop that payment plan and basically roll over the new account, the new year into the prior payment plan.
Okay, and
Yes, we can
once
do that.
once a person dies, who has the tax exemption? What is the grace period that is allowed to update the information without penalty?
So the year that someone passes away, the exemptions stay on for that year. Obviously, the appraisal district may not know if someone passes away, so the exemptions could stay on for a couple of years until they've determined if there's a death certificate or something. So it's always important for those heirs to let the appraisal district know that someone has passed away, so that exemption can come off. Because the appraisal district will, figure it out, and those exemptions can go back off for 5 years. And that would be one heck of a tax bill. So it's best to let them know. Taxes are always due by January 31st. That exemption will stay on that year that someone will pass away, but the next year the exemption would then come off, and those taxes are always due by January 31st. If the exemption comes off after that, there's a period of 1 month that taxes can be paid without penalty and interest. After that, they start accruing regular penalty and interest. So there really isn't a grace period. Taxes are always due every year. If the exemption comes off, there's an opportunity to pay that differential of what was paid with the exemption and without the exemption, without penalty and interest.
Okay, there is a question here that says, are there any exceptions? I don't know if she meant exemptions allowable for more than one property. For example, if a person inherits a property.
So homestead exemptions in Texas, it's where you live and you only live one place. So you only have one homestead exemption on the property you reside at.
Okay.
And I might also mention too, that there is something called the new airship exemption is one that is available for an individual who lives in an inherited property, but there are other heirs to that same property. If this individual can prove that they live in the home, they're, and provide information, which we've kind of simplified the process. The legislature passed this in 2019 too, to simplify the process for those individuals who, while they inherited the property, they're not the owner. They can receive the exemption if they provide the appropriate documentation, and that information is available on our website too. However, it is for that individual and not for other individuals who may own property, have other primary residences.
Okay, how do you figure your tax payment with homestead exemptions and senior exemptions prior to purchasing a home. There are so many taxing entities, and do you have to visit each one of their websites and link or use a calculator for each taxing entity to figure out what the exemption would be?
When you visit hcad.org, the Harris County Appraisal District, they do have a jurisdiction section where it talks about all the different tax rates and exemptions that are applied to each jurisdiction in Harris County. So what one would do is go put that address that you're looking to purchase a home, look for the jurisdictions that are with that home, and then go over to that other tab where the jurisdictions are listed and basically calculate yourself the tax bill. But basically your probably best bet is just to find schools that have the local option of a homestead exemption. So what you could do is just go down hcad.org under that jurisdiction table and look at all the school districts that offer a local option 20% homestead. So you know you're going to have savings with that school district. And then you know the county is the same no matter where you live, but I would always double check the MUDs, the school, and the cities that you're looking at the property in.
Okay, and you can apply for an exemption with an affidavit of heirship?
Yes, that's what Mabel was talking about, the heirship exemption. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, it says if you inherit a home with a senior exemption and you are a senior selling your home to live there, does the appraised value of the inherited home apply for the property tax purposes, or does the fair market value apply?
So if you have an over 65 exemption and you're living in another home and you have a tax ceiling for that exemption, you would request a tax ceiling certificate from the appraisal district. And then basically we would transfer that ceiling to the new home you're about to purchase and apply for the exemption in the new home. It's called a tax ceiling certificate, and you would reach out to the appraisal district if you lived outside of Harris County to that appraisal district and provide that tax ceiling certificate to the tax assessor of the school, which if it's Houston ISD or Klein or the other ones we collect for would be our office.
And I also wanted to remind everybody that, again, this session is being recorded and it is also on our social media platforms. So please feel free to follow us on social media so that you can go back to view the recording, or we will also be emailing a link so that you can go back and watch the recorded session. So another question here, who is the best person to contact regarding listed square footage discrepancies on the HCAD for our home?
You can actually contact, you can either call our number. I'm going to suggest you call our number at 7800. There is a form that you can fill out on our website that involves, I'm not sure what it's called. You can look down, it'll state what that is, or you can look down, I'm saying you can look down the list of forms. There is one, I'm sorry, I can't give you the number right now, where you can send it in to correct that, or you can email us at help@hcad.org. Make sure you include your information that includes the account number, address if you can, account number, describe the issue so that we will know who to forward that to the appropriate department, and they will take care of it for you.
Okay. For the over 65 exemptions for jointly owned property, must both property owners be 65 to get the exemption?
No, whoever turns 65 first and their name is on the property, they can apply for the exemption. Also mentioned in my presentation, I went through something called the over 55 surviving spouse exemption. If for some reason that spouse passes away, whose name was in the exemption, the surviving spouse, as long as he or she is age 55 or older, can apply and continue to receive the exemption that they already had. Again, though, be sure to apply.
Okay. Can you claim both a disability and an over 65 exemption?
No, it's one or the other.
Okay. Let's see. Went over airship affidavit. Thank you. Do you know anything about Proposition 7? It's about the tax exemption for surviving spouse. Maria, you wanna unmute yourself and elaborate a little bit more?
Yes, during the special session or during a voting session, there was Proposition 7 and it was approved by the voters. And it has to do with the disability. See, my husband had a disability exemption, but he passed away. So I was wondering if the surviving spouse, me, could still claim that exemption. Well, that Proposition 7, according to Proposition 7, you could. And it was just limited to the the school, the school, freezing the tax or something like that. But
So on a disability exemption, there's also a tax ceiling on that exemption. And I think before, and by memory, it's been a while since the legislation, you weren't allowed to keep the ceiling on a disabled spouse, but I believe you might be able to now.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it was. I wasn't able to take advantage of it because my husband passed away in 2019. And so I have not been able to take advantage of that exemption. And so what I was wondering is, how do I apply? Because when I called, they didn't know anything about it. They couldn't really send me the right forms because there weren't any. It was the legislation had just passed. The voters had
right.
just approved it. So
And
I was
Marie,
wondering, huh?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I was just wondering when I could apply for that. And then my other question was, if I did qualify, would I also be able to make payments on my taxes? Because that really was the most helpful thing of when my husband was disabled, being able to pay our taxes in payments. That was, oh, that was huge. That was huge.
I
So
think it's very, and Mabel and I can't do this off the top of our head, if the legislature was set at a certain time period going forward, or did it take in it, and accompanying the prior exemptions. So I think you probably need to email Mabel if you want to give her the help@hcad.org email address, because I think it's specific enough that they'll have to help you with that question.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so, Maria. And I vaguely recall something along those lines in that list of past bills, which is why I said we are, as you said, you probably called and they didn't have that information yet because we're still unpacking them and trying to put all of that, encode all of that into our systems. So if you want to email help@hcad.org
Okay.
and just mention that you had spoken with someone on this on our AMOS workshops. And also this is one of those that we will be addressing probably next month in our workshop series when we have it in our February workshop, where we're going to talk a little bit more about some of these new rules and how they fit into the property tax process.
And Maria, Nia and I will get your information, and we'll get some more information on Proposition 7 for you also.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great because like I said, the payment thing is just, because now it's just me. So it's very, very helpful to have the payment, to have that payment plan. That was, like I said, very, very helpful. But the
There is
other
an
thing that the proposition said was that they would be also, I guess, crediting me for the year 2020, the taxes that I paid for 2020 and the taxes for 2021. So I was hoping that I could also catch a break there.
So
So-
Maria, too, if you will send, if you will put, if you don't mind sending your email, I will check on that for you and see, what
Miss
it is.
Miss
And
Mabel,
I'll
can you,
get back to you.
Okay,
Miss Mabel, can you type your email address in the chat so that way she can reach out to you? So that way, you know, her personal email isn't just kind of out there.
Exactly.
So
Okay.
Ms. Mabel, put your information in the chat and then have her contact you from there. But let me verify though, as far as payment arrangements and her making payments, she doesn't have to be over a certain age to make payment arrangements though, correct?
No, but what she specifically wants is that quarter pay where you divide it out in 4 equal installments without any
Oh.
penalty and interest. So once, if HCAD grants her that exemption, she will then have the ability to do it going forward.
Okay, gotcha,
awesome.
gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Next question, how soon or how early can you apply for can a person apply for the over 65 exemption, or do they have to wait until January of the following year to take advantage?
You can apply as soon as you turn 65, and even if you turn 65 on December 30th of last year, you will get the over 65 exemption for the entire 2021. But you just simply apply that as soon as you turn 65, and you're eligible for that entire year. That answer?
I hope so. Okay, is a payment plan only for homestead exemptions? I own another, or for homestead, I own another home with the grandkids. Can I get payment plan for that house as well?
Absolutely. The Harris County Tax Office, we offer, the requirements for the tax code is do a payment plan for residential, but we also offer them for any business property or any extra home you have. So you can go onto our website and put in that account number and request a payment plan for your second home.
Okay. All right, so Ms. Mabel put her email address in the chat. It's mmenefee, MMENEFEE @hcad.org. Okay, she got it.
Great.
All right. Yes, the answers. Okay, those were the last of the questions that were in the chat. Are there any other questions that anybody would like to unmute themselves and ask the questions directly of the presenter, or do you, without having to type it in, you can feel free to do so, or raise your hand and we'll call on you. So how can I designate a current owner? What does that mean? Robert, what does that mean? If you could elaborate.
Robert, could you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I've seen on HCAD, I belong to a condominium association, and some owners have current owner as their listing so that they can't be looked up as far as you can't. And so how can you do that?
That is generally reserved. You can contact HCAD again if you'd like to put your information in help@hcad.org. We have a specific person at work, a group that works with the people who want to just put current owner on there, and that's a lot of people will tend to do that, particularly people involved in law enforcement. And other situations. So we can certainly help you with that.
Just for
And do
privacy,
I just call?
you're not getting
I am.
solicited.
Hold on 2 seconds. I get this question a lot, so I kind of know the answer a lot. There are 2 kinds of accounts that are like removed from the website. And what Mabel was talking about is the tax code requirements for confidential, which is if you're an elected official, a policeman, things like that. But then there's also just what the appraisal district does and our website does is if you just want your name removed from the website, we both have forms. Under the form section at the appraisal district, there's just, you want to opt out is kind of the words we use. If you just want your name removed from the website, that can be done for any property owner. But again, if you are confidential by tax code, which law enforcement, elected officials and things like that, that's where it's even more where if you call, no one's giving your name out. So yes, they both at the appraisal district's website and at the Harris County Tax Office. We both have those forms on our website if you want to opt out from your name showing on the website.
Ms.
Now,
Dawes,
now, Robert, we can't guarantee that your name's still not going to be out there because there's so many other services, but we can certainly take it off of the HCAD website.
what's
You're
the
still
name
gonna
of
get
the
those
form? What's the name of the form that they would have to apply? Would you,
Hold on, I'll look because I've seen it. Just give me 1 second. I've seen it
Okay.
out there a few times. Because I've had to email it to property owners.
Okay, well, while you're looking for that, Katie Ware had her hand up. Katie, did you want to ask your question?
If
You
not,
there?
I found it. I found it
Okay.
already. It's under the general information underneath the form section, and it's called Internet Opt Out. The form at the appraisal district is GTA IAD 0616, but it's just called Internet Opt Out. That's the appraisal district's website.
Can you copy the
then-
link from that page and put it in the chat?
Sure.
That
Thank
way
you
he can
so
go
much.
directly to it.
You're welcome.
Okay. Katie, go ahead. Katie, you're unmuted. Go ahead. Now she just muted herself again.
we can go to the next question until,
Okay, Pastor Deb?
Yes, thank you, Nia, and blessings to everyone. This may not be the right question, but we're over here with a tax bill that my mother set up before she died 10 years ago. My dad just got put in a nursing home because the house got disrepaired from Harvey and Imelda and he couldn't stay. We're working on this change of title, but when you go to set payments, I want to start some payments now. And how low can the payments get? Because I'm on SSI, it's all that I got. But I'm paying a second lien note every month from Ike. You know, they put a 30,000 lien on this old house. So how low can the payments be, or do they set them up where you can afford them, or is there a standard percentage? That's what my question. Thank you.
In the tax code, it allows us to go up to 36 months. So if you'd like to go to our website and request one, we can send you an email and say, this is how much it is for 12, 24, and 36. So we can do it up to 36 months. If you're still not able to make those payments at 36 months, you know, we're happy to take any partial payment at any time. It's just the payment plan kind of helps you understand is, okay, when am I going to finally get finished? And keeps, you know, property from continued collection activities.
Thank you. I guess I should also say that we just get a card every year. Nobody's collecting, nobody's come calling. I think it's just stacking up. So if I come in, or I say we call in, I don't leave, but if my sister comes in or y'all, we call y'all and we just tell you the house number or the card, then somebody there can calculate that and they'll know, because no one's calling to collect. We just got to get it going. Okay.
Right. So I think the first fall is you probably need to notify the appraisal district there's been some change of ownership. So because basically if your parent was a tax deferral, we only send out one bill a year to that person and that's it. We don't continually send out delinquent notices because you're in a tax deferral. So if you didn't get a tax bill, you could put in the address on our website and see if it pulls up for you, and you could get a dollar amount off of it at hctax.net. Or, you know, of course, reaching out to the appraisal district with the change of ownership. There's a form there, how to change if someone passed away, you know, just so those exemptions will come off. So you kind of know going forward what the values are and how much you need to pay.
and Pastor Deb, we'll get back with you, either Nia or myself, and
Thank
we'll personally try to help you with that, because we know the situation and we already know what's going
Yeah.
on, so we can assist you with that.
You always do. God bless you, and thank all of you, especially Mabel. Thank you so much. And I love your kitchen, by the way. I've been fascinated by your
I was about to say the same thing.
I tried to make it look presentable before the conversation.
Okay, Katie, are you still there? Did you still have a question? I see your hand is still right. Yeah, go right ahead. You're unmuted, Katie Ware. Go ahead. I wonder if she doesn't have a mic, well, she's got a speaker, but may not have a mic.
That's probably what it is.
Katie, do you want to type your question in the chat? Because if you're saying something, we can't hear you. Okay, so if you have any other questions, I did put my my email address in the chat as well, at nmurray@nrcdc.org. Please feel free to email me your questions, and I'll be happy to make sure that we get them to either Elizabeth or Mabel if you don't contact them directly. So with that being said, I believe that's all we have. If there's nothing else, Myra, would you like to add anything?
No, we're just getting ready for February 2022. The month of service program starts up again. Of course, it started up today officially, and thank you to Ms. Dawson, Ms. Menifee. We're very grateful. And Nia, as always, neighborhood recovery. You guys are always out there and above, leading and guiding all of us. So, if you want a copy of the schedule for February 2022, go to nrcdc.org. And it's already on the calendar, correct, Ms. Nia?
It will be by the end of the week, but I will even when I email the link, I'll attach the schedule for February so that everybody can already have it.
All right. Thank you so
And
much.
I just wanted to add that if anyone has any questions they realize later on that they wanted an answer for or didn't get a chance to articulate to ask, feel free to email me again at mmenifee@hcad.org. I may not necessarily be the person who can answer those for you, but I will make sure they get to the content expert who can. So thank you again.
Okay.
Thank you, ladies.
With that being said, thank you guys for joining us this afternoon. We hope you all have a wonderful remainder of your day. Certainly ask you to join us again. Our next workshop is next Tuesday. That is the taxpayer right and IRS tax preparation. So we'll have a tax attorney from with Houston Volunteer Lawyers, as well as neighborhood tax centers that's going to be addressing issues related to tax preparation and what rights are and how filing with the people receiving those the advance credit, all that type of stuff. So we are not the legal experts by any means. So that's why we bring the experts to you guys. If there are, when you guys receive the calendar, if there are any particular topics that we do not have listed that you are interested in, please feel free to reach out to us and let us know. We're tweaking our schedule a little bit this year based on the input that we do receive. So please feel free to continue to let us know what it is that you'd like to see or would like more information about. So thank you guys once again, and appreciate you joining us this afternoon, and ask you to continue to stay safe and take care of yourselves. Thanks. Bye, Mabel. Bye, Elizabeth.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.